The boy couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Barefoot, wearing clothes that were more patches than original fabric, holding a worn, stuffed bear in one hand. He stood at the edge of our research camp in the North Cascades, looking at 19 of the world's leading primatologists, anthropologists, and wildlife biologists, with eyes that had seen too much hardship for his age. "You're looking for the big friend?" he asked in a small voice. We all turned, annoyed at the interruption. This was serious science. We'd spent 6 months planning this expedition to definitively prove Sasquatch was a hoax. Dr. Sarah Chen, our lead researcher, was about to dismiss him when he said something that froze us all. "I can show you. He saved my baby sister when she got lost in the woods last winter. He carried her 3 miles back to our trailer. She was sleeping on his shoulder like he was Santa Claus." The absolute certainty in his voice, the specific details, the way his eyes filled with tears when he mentioned his sister, 19 experts, all of us stopped. Because children don't lie like that, not about something that mattered. My name is Dr. James Morrison. I'm 67 years old, a wildlife biologist who spent 40 years studying North American megafauna. And in September 2019, I was part of the most ambitious Sasquatch research expedition ever assembled. 19 experts, $5 million in funding from tech billionaires who wanted to settle the question once and for all. The most sophisticated equipment available, and a singular mission, prove that Bigfoot was a myth, a misidentification, a combination of bears, hoaxes, and human imagination. We were so certain we'd debunk it. We had PhDs, peer-reviewed publications, decades of experience. We knew what was possible and what wasn't. And giant bipedal apes hiding in North American forests? Impossible. The habitat couldn't support them. The population genetics didn't work. There wasn't enough food. It violated everything we understood about large mammal ecology. So we designed the perfect study. 6 months in the Mount Baker wilderness, camera traps every 100 yards, thermal imaging, audio recording arrays, DNA sampling stations, environmental DNA testing of water sources. If anything larger than a raccoon existed in these mountains, we'd find it. And when we found nothing, the myth would be finished. Bigfoot would join fairies and dragons in the realm of discredited folklore. The team was impressive. Dr. Sarah Chen from Berkeley, primatologist who'd spent 20 years studying mountain gorillas. Dr. Robert Williams from Oxford, anthropologist specializing in human evolution. Dr. Lisa Brennan from Yale, expert in large predator ecology, and 16 others, the best in our fields, all dedicated to rigorous, skeptical science. We'd been in the field for 2 months. We'd documented black bears, mountain lions, wolves, elk, deer, countless smaller mammals, everything we expected, nothing we didn't. Our hypothesis was being confirmed. Sasquatch didn't exist. It was exactly what we'd predicted. Then, on September 15, 2019, the boy appeared. We were at our base camp, a clearing with our research tents, equipment stations, and data processing center. It was late afternoon. We were reviewing the day's findings. Nothing unusual, again. Dr. Chen was presenting her preliminary report. 2 months, 127 camera trap locations, 47,000 images. 0 anomalies. Every large animal photographed has been identified as known species. The statistical probability of a population of undiscovered large primates existing here is now approaching 0. We were satisfied, vindicated, ready to start writing our papers. Then we heard the small voice, "You're looking for the big friend?" We turned. This tiny kid standing at the edge of our camp. He'd appeared silently, alone, no adults, just him and a stuffed bear that had seen better days. "Sweetie, where are your parents?" Dr. Chen asked, her tone maternal but dismissive. "You shouldn't be out here alone." "I live down the mountain," he said, pointing vaguely southeast. "Trailer park past the logging road. My name's Tommy." "Tommy, we're doing important work here," Dr. Williams said. not unkindly but firmly. "You need to go home. It's not safe for children." "You're looking for the big friend," Tommy interrupted. Not a question this time, a statement. "The big hairy man who lives in the deep woods. I can show you." Several of us laughed. Not meanly, but with that patronizing amusement adults show children's fantasies. Kids and their imaginations probably saw a bear, built it into a monster. "Tommy," I said gently, "there's no such thing as Bigfoot. We're scientists, and we're here to prove that. The big hairy man people see is usually just bears walking upright. It happens more than you'd think." But Tommy shook his head vigorously. "Not a bear, the big friend. He saved my sister." That got our attention. "What do you mean, saved your sister?" Dr. Brennan asked. Her interest piqued. And Tommy told us a story that should have been impossible. But the way he told it, the specific details, the emotional weight, the absolute conviction, made 19 experts pause. "Last January," he said, "middle of winter. His baby sister Emily, she was 4, had wandered away from their trailer while their mom was at work. Tommy had been watching her, but he'd fallen asleep. When he woke, Emily was gone. He'd searched frantically, called for her. Nothing. She'd been wearing only her pajamas and slippers. Temperature was in the teens, snow on the ground. She'd die of exposure within hours. Tommy had run to the neighbor's trailer. They'd called the sheriff. Search and rescue was dispatched. But the nearest team was 2 hours away, and it would be dark soon. Everyone thought the worst. A 4-year-old in the winter woods. The statistics were grim. But 3 hours later, just before full dark, Emily had appeared, walking down the road toward the trailer park, completely unharmed, warm, dry, her slippers barely dirty. And she was singing a song no one had taught her. They asked her where she'd been, Tommy said, his voice steady. She said the big friend found her, that she was cold and crying, and he picked her up, carried her on his shoulder. She said he was really tall, really hairy, but warm, and he smelled like trees. She said she fell asleep, and when she woke up, he was putting her down at the edge of the road, that he touched her head really gentle, then walked back into the trees. "Tommy," Dr. Chen said carefully, 4-year-olds have active imaginations. She probably—" "Her slippers," Tommy interrupted, pulling something from his pocket, a small slip of paper. "Search and rescue found her trail. They followed it back. She'd walked almost a mile into the deep woods. Then her tracks disappeared, just stopped, like she'd been picked up. And 3 miles away they found where her tracks started again, right where she said the big friend put her down. They couldn't explain it. A 4-year-old couldn't have walked that far that fast. And there were no adult human footprints, but there were other prints." He handed the paper to Dr. Chen. It was a sketch, crude but clear, a footprint, enormous, bipedal, 5 toes, not human, not bear, something else. "Search and rescue made this," Tommy said. "They found them where Emily's tracks stopped, where something picked her up. They didn't know what to make of them. Put it in the report as unknown animal tracks. But I know, the big friend. He saved my sister." 19 experts looked at that sketch, at this boy, at each other. "Tommy," I said slowly, "do you know where these prints were found? Could you show us?" He nodded vigorously. "I go there sometimes, leave food, to say thank you. He saved Emily. I want him to know we're grateful." Dr. Williams cleared his throat. "How far is this location?" "Maybe 2 hours hike from here. I know the way. I can show you tomorrow if you want." We huddled. 19 scientists discussing whether to follow up on a child's story. The rational part of our brains said it was a waste of time, probably misidentification, probably the boy embellishing. But Dr. Chen said something that changed everything. What if he's telling the truth? Not about Bigfoot, but about his sister. If a 4-year-old really was carried 3 miles in winter and returned safely, we need to investigate. Whether it was Bigfoot or a human hermit or something else, There's a mystery here worth examining. We agreed. And the next morning, Tommy arrived at dawn. He led us southeast, up into dense forest we hadn't yet surveyed. The terrain was rough, steep, heavily wooded, crossed by multiple streams. No trails, no human presence. After 90 minutes, we reached a small clearing. Tommy stopped. Here, this is where I leave food. And over there, he pointed to a spot about 30 yards away. That's where they said Emily's track stopped, where the big print started. We spread out, examining the site carefully. It had been 8 months since the incident. Weather and time had erased any tracks, but the location matched Tommy's description. Dense forest, hidden, remote, perfect for something that wanted to avoid humans. Dr. Brennan was examining the trees at the clearing's edge. "James, come look at this," I joined her. She was pointing at a massive Douglas fir. About 8 feet up, there were marks in the bark, deep scratches, parallel, made by something with significant strength. "Bear?" I suggested. Wrong pattern. Bears scratch vertically, using the tree to mark territory and shed their coats. These are horizontal. And look at the depth. Whatever made these was stronger than any bear. Dr. Williams called from across the clearing. "We've got broken branches here. Deliberately broken, not weathered. Arranged almost like bedding? Someone or something has been using this site." For the next hour, we documented everything. Photographed, measured, collected samples. Then Tommy led us deeper into the woods. "Sometimes I follow the paths," he explained. "The big friend makes paths. They're hard to see, but they're there, between the thick trees where people don't go." And he was right. Once he showed us what to look for, we could see them. Game trails that were slightly too wide, broken branches at heights above what deer or elk would make, signs of regular passage by something large and bipedal. We followed these paths deeper into the wilderness, into terrain so remote and difficult that we understood why our camera traps had missed it. We'd been surveying the accessible areas, the places humans could easily reach, but these paths led to places humans almost never went. After 3 hours, Tommy stopped at a cliff face. "The cave's up there," he said, pointing to a dark opening about 20 feet up the rock face. "I've never climbed up, too scared. But I think that's where the big friend lives. Sometimes at night, if I'm camping out here, I see a fire glow from inside." A cave, elevated, hidden, defensible. Perfect shelter for a large primate trying to avoid detection. Dr. Chen looked at me. "We need to investigate." 3 of us climbed up, Dr. Chen, Dr. Williams, and myself. The cave entrance was narrow but opened into a chamber about 15 feet across. And inside, evidence. Undeniable evidence. The cave was being actively used. There was bedding. Layers of cedar bark, moss, and ferns arranged deliberately. A fire pit, cold but recently used based on the ash. Bones from deer and elk cracked open to extract marrow. Tools, rocks, shaped for specific purposes, and in the back, carved into the stone wall, simple images, stick figures, animals, a representation of what looked like humans, and a much larger figure standing together. "My God," Dr. Williams whispered. "Someone's living here, someone intelligent, someone who's been avoiding detection." We spent the rest of that day documenting everything, collecting samples, photographing. Our entire expedition's mission had shifted. We weren't debunking a myth anymore. We were investigating genuine evidence of something unknown. Tommy waited patiently below. When we climbed down, he looked at us with those 2 old eyes. "You believe me now?" "Tommy," Dr. Chen said, kneeling to his level, "thank you for showing us. You've helped us understand something important." "Will you hurt the big friend?" he asked, his voice suddenly fearful. "He's good. He saved Emily. I don't want bad people to hurt him." And that question hit all of us, hard. Because Tommy was right to worry. If we published this, If we announced that we'd found evidence of an unknown hominid, what would happen? Media circus, hunters, trophy seekers, government intervention. The creature's life would become hell. That night, back at camp, we faced an ethical crisis. 19 experts, the discovery of our careers, evidence of an unknown species, the scientific imperative to document and publish, versus the welfare of a creature that had saved a child's life, that lived peacefully, harming no one, that deserved to continue existing without becoming a spectacle or a target. Dr. Chen called for a vote. We publish everything, or we bury it. No middle ground. It wasn't unanimous. 5 wanted to publish, but 14 of us, including myself, voted to bury it, to end the expedition, to report that we'd found no evidence, to close the door on Sasquatch research and let the creature live in peace. The 5 who disagreed eventually understood, or at least accepted. Because Tommy had shown us something beyond the evidence. He'd shown us what this creature was: peaceful, intelligent, capable of compassion. It had saved a child when it could have ignored her, returned her safely when it could have let her die. That action spoke to character, to moral awareness, to something deserving of protection. We packed up our expedition, wrote our report. No evidence found. Sasquatch remains unconfirmed. Recommend closing this line of inquiry. The billionaires who funded us were disappointed but satisfied. The question was settled as far as they knew. But before we left, we returned to Tommy's trailer. It was heartbreaking, a rusted single wide in a lot of dying trailers. His mother worked 3 jobs. His father was gone. They had almost nothing. Dr. Chen set up a trust fund for Tommy and Emily, anonymous, funded by contributions from all 19 of us. It would pay for their education, their health care, give them opportunities they'd never have otherwise. "Why?" his mother asked, crying. "We didn't do anything for you." "Your son did," Dr. Chen said simply. He taught 19 arrogant scientists an important lesson about truth and compassion. That's worth everything. Tommy understood, I think. The last time I saw him, he hugged me. "You're keeping him safe," he whispered. "We're keeping him safe," I promised. That was 5 years ago. I'm 67 now, retired, living quietly. And I think about Tommy often, about a poor little boy who showed 19 experts the truth. Not just about Bigfoot, but about what matters, about compassion, about protecting the vulnerable, about sometimes keeping secrets for the right reasons. We went looking to debunk a myth. Tommy showed us it was real, but more importantly, he showed us why some truths are better left unpublished, why some discoveries serve science better by remaining hidden, why protecting life matters more than advancing careers. 19 experts tried to prove Bigfoot was a myth. A poor little boy showed us the truth and taught us that some truths are worth protecting more than proving. Emily's alive today because a creature we proved didn't exist saved her life. That creature's alive today because 19 scientists chose compassion over publication. Sometimes the greatest scientific achievement isn't discovery. It's knowing when to stay silent. Tommy taught us that. An 8-year-old boy in patched clothes with a worn stuffed bear. He was wiser than all of us combined. And somewhere in the North Cascades, in a cave we'll never reveal, a peaceful creature continues living undisturbed, saved by the testimony of a child and the conscience of scientists who chose right over fame. That's the truth, the real truth, the one that matters.